job is like to get it in. That's what's going on here, right?
Well, still. At any rate, these were questions given to me by people at Rocking On magazine here.
What's it called?
It's called Rocking On magazine.
Rocking On?
Yeah, it's the biggest rock music magazine in Japan.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, and they presented me with about 10 questions here that they wanted me to ask you. You see, I'm basically just a translator by trade.
Okay.
So if there's some,
really?
So if
you understand Japanese?
Well, it's my profession. But at any rate, if some of these questions don't make a heck of a lot of sense, it's because they're coming to you indirectly.
Right.
Okay, so at any rate, I guess I should get started here. Okay, question 1. You had you did covers of Lou Reed's Rock and Roll and the Stones' Sympathy for the Devil on the first album.
Yeah.
Do those covers pretty much represent the band's roots?
They're definitely part of them, I would say. No doubt about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it that we admire and respect, both of those rock legends, I guess.
Mm-hmm. What, did you guys all grow up listening to them, or are you a little more diverse in terms of your backgrounds and tastes?
Well, that's definitely roots. I wouldn't, deny that they were roots, but the band has got a very, very wide influence of things that we listen to, from classical music to jazz, and, the more we get our hands on, the more we get to listen to.
Mm-hmm.
The more we take in.
It seems like on Nothing Shocking there's a pretty wide range of styles. Is that a sign that you guys are still in the developing stages, or do you think you guys will always be a very a band filled with diversity?
Well, I don't think that the band should ever stop developing. I think when it's matured, it's time to break the band up.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that we have definitely not reached our peak. And as far as diversity on the record, it's just, I guess that shows a good example of how diverse of a band we are, because we like to throw in, whatever style fits. And we can borrow from styles and create our own, and just kind of mix it up and come up with something that sounds a little bit fresh.
Mm-hmm.
Or sounds, fresh. Not a little bit fresh, but fresh.
Mm-hmm. Do you think you yourself contribute an inordinately large amount to like the creation of the tunes, or is it more of a democratic process and everybody kind of throwing in their 2 bits?
Well, a lot of times the tune will come from, maybe a groove. We'll start the tune and I'll go home and work on it and bring it back in, or sometimes I'll bring something in, but they always come out, unexpected, because everybody's got their free play in it. And so, you never know how the song is going to end up, because nobody is mastering the songs. It's just like more or less like somebody brings in kind of hints at where to go, kind of breadcrumbs, and then it's up to the people to know, follow those breadcrumbs, or create their own path.
Have you found it a lot easier to write songs since this band has been formed? I mean, has this contributed to your own development as an artist?
Wait, I'm sorry. Say that question one more time.
I'm sure that you have always been involved in writing music or performing music even before you started up the band.
Yes.
Do you find it's a lot easier to create music now that you're working with these guys?
I find it more difficult to create music than ever before, because it's not the guys in the band, it's the pressures of becoming known have taken the time that we would use to write songs, and it's kind of sucked it up with touring and interviews and photo shoots and the likes. The touring, for the most part, has really taken up the band's time, and it's made it very, very, very difficult to come up with new tunes. So I'm hoping once the tour is done to take at least a half a year and do nothing but write new songs. Not that we have about 4 albums worth at this point, but the best part about the music for me, and the best part of the most artistic part of this whole thing is the creating part of it. And at this point, it's more like we are going out there and doing imitations of ourselves, because the crowd wants to hear the song one more time. They don't, you can't go out in front of a crowd and play all new material, because a crowd feeds off of familiarity. It makes them feel safe. And so, if you give them things they haven't heard before, they don't know how to react, because they're not sure how to react. When things are accepted, they know how to react. They can loosen up because they know it's been accepted. But to try to put new things across to them, they don't give up their true feelings, because they're not sure if it's being accepted. So we're forced to play the role of ourselves. We're playing a role that's already been played. It's already history, but we have to kind of pretend for them. It's a difficult role to play. It's like acting.
That sounds like kind of a cynical approach to live performance, then, huh?
Well, that's pretty much what I believe. So I guess I'm telling you what I believe.
Do you find yourself ever, completely getting sick and tired of that? Like when you get to the point where you don't have to tour anymore, do you think you'd stop?
Well, that we did that, and I began to get unhappy because I missed the rush. But it's like anything, you have to, you can't eat your favorite food every night and expect it to taste the same,
Yeah.
And it's the same with playing live. You can't play. I don't find myself playing live. I don't feel I can get the same rush every time. You begin to. It's like a roach who takes in insecticide or pesticide, and after a while you can't kill that roach because he just has grown accustomed to the pesticide. And I miss the rush of the crowd when I'm not around it, but when I'm around it too much, it begins to be like pesticide. I just get too accustomed to it.
Or maybe more like an incurable strain of VD. How about that?
Yeah.
Okay. The first album and the second album, stylistically, I don't know about stylistically, but in terms of like the texture of the sound, they both have kind of a garage style sound. At least that's what the guy who made up these questions notes. He thinks it's rather ironic that on your first major record, whereas the last one was an indie, you would want a sound that's maybe a bit slicker. But was it a conscious effort on your part to maintain the garage type sound?
Well, I produced the first record and I produced the second record, and it's just a matter of taste, and it always has been for me. And I don't really look at it like, well, now that this is a major label record, what is expected? I just produced. Basically, I work off of tones, and I just produce the tones that I feel are the best. And there is a similarity between the first and the second, because I truly do enjoy a slightly more raw sound and a slightly more slick sound. Is something that I don't really get off on. So as long as I'm producing this band, that sound is pretty much going to permeate throughout it, and that's the sound of we did come from a garage. I mean, we literally came out of our garage in Los Angeles, and to me, that was the true heart of the sound, and that's what we're made of. That's where we honed our sound, and that's what we became accustomed to sounding like. So that it's always going to be there, I hope. If it begins to be too slick, and I don't notice it, then I'm as good as dead.
Do you think that that's one of the selling points of the band, that sort of rough edge?
Well, there is a rough edge, and I'm glad it's there, and it's a natural rough edge because, it's in our blood. And I don't know if it can always stay there because, when you get to be more and more known, it's more and more difficult to maintain that rough edge because things become more and more comfortable for you, Although I should say I'm having a difficult time right now. One thing's been replaced with the other. Before I was worrying about eating, and now I eat, but I worry, I don't have time for myself, and I'm equally as irritated.
Does the label pressure you at all to come up with anything different, or are they pretty much satisfied with what you guys have produced?
Well, there's always a pressure at first because we're trying to do something that, not on purpose, it should be something that everybody should do, and that is to be completely involved in their art. reason or another, a lot of acts don't seem to be as involved. And record companies begin to depend on so-called experts, like people in the video field, the so-called experts of the video field, or the so-called expert producers in the production field. They begin to depend on them to deliver product. And when you come in and say to them, look, I know you have your so-called experts, but I'm a self-made expert, and this is the way it goes. It's a little bit hard to swallow at first.
Mm-hmm.
And they judge things by monetary success more than anything.
Mm-hmm.
If you're not producing in dollars for them, eventually, you're not with them anymore. And it's tough for them when somebody comes in and asks for, a fair amount of money. They expect the payback right away, And I expect one day that I will pay them back, but I just am not one of those kind of people that is in a hurry to sell my art out. In fact, it never will happen. And I think that we're a long-run band,
Uh-huh.
We'll be known for whatever we're known for in the long run, because it's just going to take a little bit. It takes more time when you're more involved with it. It just takes more time because you're only one person and you only have so much energy.
Uh-huh.
It's easy to give things up to people. But it's also that's when the true interpretations of things gets lost, because you have more people that they don't know you, they don't know what you're about, and they just go off of giving you suggestions about what they think it could work. They don't have the time. They don't have the time to think about it. It's not their life on the line.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just what's easiest and what'll work. And they're on a clock. And I don't work that way.
Uh-huh. The label Metal Funk is being used to describe your sound. Is that legitimate?
It's part of it.
Uh-huh. But
it's definitely part of it.
Uh-huh.
It's not all of it, though.
Yeah. Do you object to being labeled LA Metal?
Well, I don't get a great... if somebody called me LA Metal, I wouldn't say thank you very much, because I don't really agree with quote-unquote metal, what it's become. I agree with, the earliest forms of it, but I don't really enjoy being a part of it. I guess it's my job to be an antagonist, and to kind of shake things up, and I don't really like falling in the line of LA metal, because most LA metal, if you're talking about straight metal, and the houses that housed LA metal, we've never even played those places. And we never have been in their magazines, and we never put our ads in their magazines, We've always been just on the street level, an alternative band, An alternative band that, when I used to be, fully into punk rock, when punk rock was really big, and I was, just checking things out, metal was like the thing that we thought was the joke.
Mm-hmm.
Punk rock got lost and metal resurged. And at the same time all that happened, we came up at the same time, but it was coincidental.
Mm-hmm. What do you think of the success of Guns N' Roses?
I'm happy for them. When anybody can do anything that big, it must be exciting and everything else, but, it's not my choice.
Uh-huh.
It's not my choice to work, the way they work.
What do you
mean?
I'm
happy for them.
What do you mean it's not What do you mean it's not your choice to choose to work the way they work?
Well, I work differently. I work, as I say, I dig into what has to be done, and I don't, what's it called? I just am on top of, my things as far as like production and things like that. I make sure they're exactly the way I want them. And that's all I have to say.
Okay. You drew the jacket art, which had a little bit of trouble making it through customs over here because of the, the picture of the naked Siamese twins and all.
Uh-huh.
What exactly did you have in mind? Did you, did you want to create something that was shocking?
No, I just wanted to create something that I thought I could look at for a while and get some, enjoyment out of. It was something that, got me off. It was a dream, and it was probably, one of the few things in the world that I felt like I could look at and feel refreshed over,
Mm-hmm.
It was almost like, what could be, the oddest thing. And I thought two Siamese albino twins that were gorgeous with their hair inflamed was approaching, one of the most exotic and wild things that one could see.
How about pigs and Zen? What's the message here? Is that a jab at Zen?
Not necessarily, I don't know if Zen masters would be mad overhearing that or they'd be delighted. I just kind of feel like human beings strive so hard to be everything that a pig is, with not wanting anything. And a pig, a pig obviously owns no possessions, and that's everything that the Zen masters, a pig is everything that I believe Zen masters strive for.
Mm-hmm.
Eating when they're hungry, sleeping when they're sleepy.
So,
I always thought that would be the ultimate to have that. It's something that in the back of my mind, I strive for one day to just be in the middle of nothing but nature and just and the person that I love, and nobody would ask me any questions and nobody would come to collect anything. We'd have just a piece of land, and we could live a natural life.
but we normally make negative associations with the image of a pig. I suppose that wasn't something that you considered?
Well, I'm sorry, say that again?
Like when we think about a pig, we tend to conjure up negative images. So like if you...
I don't know. I don't know if the Oriental culture does that.
Mm-hmm.
Does it?
Well, I think it's pretty much universal. When you say like a pig, it's a sort of a filthy animal, and you think of somebody that's just fat, dumb. I think that conjures up negative images. So I think that's why that this question came in here.
Even in Japan?
Oh yeah, sure. I'm sure it's universal.
Because don't they have like the year of the pig?
Year of the hog, I think it is.
Okay, year of the hog.
Yeah, all right. Well, yeah, it's all semantics, I suppose. But anyway, that's how that question got in there, I guess.
Well, see, I didn't know if Oriental people looked at the pig in a negative way. I know that they do in the Western, but it's all like I say, how you look at it. I don't look at them as anything but just a four-legged creature, and it's got its own set of values.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, to me, animals that kill other animals, it seems like they would probably be the worst animals. And if you look at the animals that kill the most, human beings kill the most.
Mm-hmm.
So, if you want to look at it in those terms, we're probably the worst animals.
Uh-huh. Okay. The guy who wrote these questions seemed to think that there are other jabs at religion in the lyrics. Is that true?
Well, yeah, I would say, that I'm definitely not a big religion lover.
Mm-hmm.
Especially after, learning a little bit about a lot of religions. I've come to the conclusion that the best religion you can do is travel.
Mm-hmm. What do you mean, just like believe in people, as opposed to...
I don't know even believe in people, but just see that everybody digs their own little rut and forms their own little culture. And they try to tell you that culture is the culture, and their customs are the customs. And that's what creates, tension towards that's what makes borders up. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And that's what causes war.
Uh-huh. Okay,
Borders.
uh-huh. But you don't think that religion is a very viable concept anymore, huh?
I think that as I say, it just leads to borderlines.
Uh-huh.
And when you have those, you're just gonna have people that are hostile at each other.
Mm-hmm.
You know, especially if you look at the problems that are going on in the Middle East. You know, they're just so tense over each other,
Mm-hmm.
and they're fighting over something. And if I walk through their fields, something land that they would try to kill each other over, I would walk right through their land, and I wouldn't even want it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I wouldn't even want to protect that land. I would just, I'd pass right over it, and here these people are killing each other over these doctrines I've heard nothing about. And I know that one of them couldn't be right because I've seen too many places, and I know that everybody's got their own little doctrines, and none of them are the same.
Do you guys actually live up to this kind of bad boy persona that seems to that people seem to associate with you?
Well, that's our business, and we've never been. I, for one, am not up for having everybody's personal life dragged into anything.
Mm-hmm.
And we try to, if there's a bad boy image floating around, that's just hearsay, because my personal life is my personal life. I don't want anybody. I don't want to, give anybody a clue as to what I'm doing personally. I like it. I hardly like it just going to a restaurant and having somebody say, stare at me.
Mm-hmm.
I'd just rather be left alone, and do my artwork. So as far as personal lives, who knows? People start all kind of rumors. Sometimes they're true, sometimes they're not.
Mm-hmm. There was a question here about how your image it sort of is in conflict with kind of the goody-goody trend in rock and roll now. People doing charity and anti-drug posturing and so forth. Do you think you guys do kind of clash with that sort of trend?
Well, yeah, there's definitely bands out there that are quote-unquote goody-goody. And maybe you feel that they're goody-goody because they preach. And we're definitely not a preaching kind of a band. That's why the lyrics aren't they're not so obvious to people, They're not so scholastic, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
They're not so textbook. They're more arcane because they're individual. It's an individual trying to make a point without being obvious.
Mm-hmm.
As far as charities and stuff like that, I kind of feel myself that, especially in the field that I'm in, if I want to give people my money, it's my business, and I don't need anybody to tap me on the back.
Mm-hmm.
So to say I wouldn't do a charity or I wouldn't give to charity, but I just kind of feel charity should be something that you do personally without any kind of reward except to know for yourself. And I just kind of feel a lot of these charities are just kind of too star-studded. You know what I mean? It's almost like they have a show in Los Angeles called Star Search.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Almost like that.
Uh-huh.
I don't know. I might change my mind if somebody came to me and asked me to save something. And we've been asked to save plenty of things. That it almost becomes ridiculous because so many things need saving that if you weren't careful, you could play the rest of your life for free, and you yourself would need charity.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. A lot of guys, a lot of your contemporaries would say they just do what they do to please the kids. It sounds kind of cliche, but is that what it really boils down to?
Well, sometimes I feel that because, when I look out there at the crowd, I kind of feel a kinship, when everybody's moving, and everybody's got this, tribe thing going. And I feel really good for the moment, and I think that's my moment to feel that. But then I also feel that, my job on this planet is not to please people, problem, or, if you let half of these people who are psychotic get under your skin, you're wasting your time, because half the people that I meet are completely out of their minds, and then the other half are worth it. I'm like, hold on, turn it around. There you go. Like I say, I meet some great people, but I also meet some complete fools, so you can't completely think that way, because if you did, you'd be, a rock and roll parody. I think that's what rock and roll parodies are, is people trying to hit the status quo, and they come up with these lines, and they come up with these songs that please the masses, but they're ridiculous to anybody who thinks. So you can't think that way.
So the idea of integrity is pretty important to you, then?
That's what it's all about for me. I'm not going to get any satisfaction in the status quo world anyway. I just don't think that way. So why try to get in there with them, because I wouldn't be happy with them.
One last question here, and it's kind of off the wall, but have you ever read the book Less Than Zero?
No, but somebody else asked me that from Japan.
Really?
The last interview I had. He goes, why, was that a big movie in Japan?
Well, no. As a matter of fact, I don't think it's even opened here yet. I guess they sort of see you as representing this so-called zero generation that they're talking about.
Wow. Well, I'll tell you, I have not seen the movie, and that's ironic that two Japanese interviewers asked me the question. Well, maybe that what they're picking up on is the Los Angeles vibe, because Los Angeles is very fast-paced, and it's filled with big accidents. Maybe that movie had some big accidents happen in it.
Like, what do you mean by accidents?
Los Angeles has got some big accidents.
What do you mean by accidents?
Like tragedies and car crashes and murderers that end up stars. Things like that. Okay. Larry's saying to wind it down.
Okay, yeah, that'll pretty much do it anyway.
Okay.
All right, my man. Well, thank you.
All right, Steve.
Thank you very much.
Nice
and
to speak with you.
yeah, and I wish you the best of success, and hope to see you when you get out here.
Okay, thanks a lot. I hope so.
Yeah. Well,
Take care.
happy Thanksgiving then.
All right, thanks. Same to you.
Bye bye.
Bye bye.